to the PK's podcast. Thank you so much for joining me again. And this week, we're going to be talking about music, and the topic is It's Just Music. I think music is something that means a lot to so many people all over the world, and I think it's the one thing that kind of unites it. I think it's the one thing that can unite a lot of people. So I think it's a very important topic, and I have my personal experiences with music and all of that, with me coming from quite a musical background as well, and I'll get into that. So um we're just gonna get right into it. um so one of the things I wanted to talk about is, why do we love music so much? And I kind of went into the scientific background into this. I'm not a scientific person. I don't know science. I don't know nothing to do with that. So if I'm wrong, if I've, stated a wrong fact, just forgive me. Just have grace, please. Um, so this is what I googled the question. Why do we love music so much? And this is what came up. So bear with me. So okay, one of the first things that came up was that interaction between auditory areas of the brain and the reward system that drives pleasure. Um, hap- what? Let's do that again. Interaction between auditory areas of the brain and the reward system drive pleasure when we listen to music. And communication between the brain's auditory and reward circuits is the reason why humans find music rewarding. So basically, I think what it's saying is that when we listen, the the place that takes in information from our ears is linked to the reward system in our brain when we listen to music. So when we listen to music, our brain takes in the information that we're hearing as sound, and it interprets that as a reward and as pleasure. So basically, music is pleasurable to our brain, our body. Um and under here it says music increases dopamine. And dopamine is like the I think it's like the happy drug or something like that. Like, it makes you feel pleasure, and that's it works on the same part of the brain that illegal drugs do as well. So basically, music is addictive. I don't know if you like. I'm sure we've all had the experience where we've heard a song. I've had this recently actually, where we've heard a song. Maybe a new song has come out, and it's like the only thing you can listen to on repeat for like the next week or the next 2 weeks or whatever, however long it is. There's always that, everyone has that song that they're like addicted to, that they can't stop listening to. For me, recently, it's Worthy of My Praise by Dunsi Oyekon and Lawrence Oyor. Trust me, if you go on YouTube, yeah, and you look at the views, I think it says like 1.2 million views. I gave them half of the views that they have. Trust me. The streams that they have on Spotify, I gave them the streams, because let me tell you, I listened to that song on repeat. Like, immediately the song dropped. Whew, my mama. I love that song. But anyway, I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying. Everyone has that song that they've just listened to, and it just, it makes you feel good and you enjoy it so so much. Another bit, this is a bit of a scientific term. I don't know what it is, but the limbic system, which is involved in processing emotions and controlling memory, lights up when we perceive music. And I think that's why music is so easy to remember as well. Like, you might not remember, what you were taught in primary school, but you'll remember like one of the songs that was, like top 10 in the music charts at that age when you're a kid. Do you get what I mean? Like, music is so easy to recall because of the sound, and because of that we kind of remember the lyrics that go with it, and all those kind of things. Like, I'm trying to think of the songs that were popular when I was a kid. Like, Lady Gaga, Bad Romance, that went, like, I remember that was a hit, like one of the pop hits when I was a kid. Baby by Justin Bieber, whew, you had to be there. um I don't know if this was. I don't know if this was before me, but I don't think so. Um, what's the song now? It's by Usher. Oh no, what's the song? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That song. I, I actually don't remember when that came out, but wait, when did it come out? Hold on, let me check. Usher. It's called Yeah, isn't it? Oh my god, isn't that it? Usher. OMG. When did that come out? 2010. Yeah, it was when I was a kid. Yeah, I remember when that dropped. Like I remember that you if you know, you know, like the bangers, the pop songs, the ones that were on the charts, like top 10, like them kind of songs. Everyone kind of remembers that. The songs that you had during your childhood. And those are like the songs that were in pop hits. I remember like the songs I grew up to, like at home, like gospel songs that my parents would put on, like old school Hillsong, Shout to the Lord, Darlene Check, if you know, you know, like Don Moen, just all the, you know, like the old school Michael W H Smith, W Smith, not W H Smith, that's his shop, sorry, Michael W Smith, um our God is an awesome God. He wears Kirk Franklin, like old school gospel, like, you know, Marvin Sapp, like Fred Hammond, like the old school. Like, if you know, basically, Mary Mary, woo, when Mary Mary was Mary marrying. My. You just had to be there. You just had to be there. I wanna go to heaven. I wanna go, hey, to heaven. I wanna go to heaven. I wanna go. Okay, sorry, let me stop. Let me just relax. Um, but yeah, like old school R&B as well. Sorry, I'm just going back in the day, like, Destiny's Child, I'm a Survivor. I remember that. Just old school, like, what else? Oh, do you know what? I'll be here all day. But I'm sure you understand what I'm saying now. You can recall all those songs, even though you were a kid, even though you were a child, because um, that's how much music sticks in your mind and sticks in your memory. It's literally linked to your memory system. That's how, like, you know, um, how memorable music is. And this was something that I saw which I found interesting. It says brain waves are able to synchronize with the rhythm of a song, and the thing that came to mind was like, when you go to the gym or you're exercising, you play fast music. You play, like, you know, your hip hop. You play your rock. Maybe if you're into that, like that kind of music that keeps your blood pumping, so that, you know, it's it kind of helps you. I don't know, like like I said, your brain synchronized with the waves. I don't know the science behind it, but I know that when I want to work out and I need something to, like, you know, pump me, I've got my hip hop and I've got my rock. Them two genres, like, they're obviously so different, but both of them, I've got my songs in rock and I've got my songs in hip hop. That once I put that on, whew, yeah, it's going down. You know it's serious. You know it's serious. And I'm sure, like, people can relate to that. Another thing is, like, slow music at a spa. So if you go to a spa, if you've ever been to a spa, you'll notice that they play, like, very, very relaxing music. Like, it's so slow. Like, it's very slow. Like, the instruments in the song are very, like, soft and relaxing. And it's basically to, like, relax your mind, so that as you're, you know, in the spa, your mind is relaxed as your body is relaxed. So yeah, basically, music is so, our bodies and our minds especially are very reactive to music, very active. And just going back to the bit where it said, music increases dopamine. Basically, I don't know if already said this, but it works on the same part of the brain that illegal drugs do. So the feeling that you have when you take drugs, illegal drugs, like coke or, I don't know, LSD or whatever, is the same feeling that you have when you take music. That is how powerful and addictive music can be. I was definitely addicted to music. I'm not anymore. And I'll talk about, my experience with music later on in the episode. But definitely, like, I understand the power of how addicting music can be. So yeah, that is like a few scientific facts that I saw on Google about, music and why we love music so much. And yeah, so for me personally, I come from, I've discussed this already. I come from, pastor's kid background. But on my mum's side particularly, a lot of people sing. So my mom sings, my aunt sings, my other aunt sings, and then my cousin sings, and then my other cousin sings as well. And then I play instruments, and then I think two of my other cousins play instruments as well. So basically, like, we are a very musical family, and I've kind of grown up with that background of seeing all my aunties and all my cousins singing. So I come from a very, musically inclined generation. Um, so I've always had that. I've had that background. Like, I remember at some point I was learning to play piano. My mom wanted me to learn piano, and I just I literally, I don't know if I threw a tantrum. Well, I didn't throw a tantrum, but I was just like, no, I don't want to learn it because I didn't want her teaching me. So I stopped learning piano. I wanted to learn violin, but I think something happened and I wasn't able. But violin, I really wanted to learn. And you know what? I might learn it eventually because why not? It's never too late. But violin, I really wanted to learn. But because I couldn't learn violin, the next best thing was guitar. So I learned guitar. And then later on, years later, because I'm quite musically inclined, I just kind of picked up the piano, um, and because I had that background as well, so I just picked up piano as well. So I play piano and guitar. Um, so yeah, like I have a very strong, connection to music. Like my first song that I ever wrote was when I was 2. Obviously I don't remember, but my dad like wrote it down, like a song that I composed when I was 2. So I've been writing songs since I was 2, basically. Playing instruments since I was a kid. So yeah, music has very much been a big part of my life, and I've talked about this before. I've always, been asked to kind of lead worship or come and minister in songs and stuff like that. So I've always, been choir, always been, maybe worship leader kind of vibes. I've always been in a very musical environment. Even when I went to drama school, um, we did few lessons on singing, and even then, like I had interactions when it came to music. So yeah, music has been very much a massive part of my life. And when it came to listening to music, growing up, primary school, there was no secular music in our house. So like all the songs that I know from that time was stuff that I'd maybe hear on the radio or hear from outside. It's not stuff that I was hearing in my house because there was no secular music in our house. So I grew up listening to gospel. I grew up listening to, like I said, Hillsong, old Hillsong, Darlene Check, Don Moen, Fred Hammond, sort of, Marvin Sapp kind of vibes, Kurt Franklin, Mary, just that kind of gospel Christian background. And that's what I grew up hearing. So that's what I listened to, Chris Tomlin, and all those people. That's kind of what I grew up listening to. When I finally got to um year 8, because it was in year 8 that I moved to the UK. Um, I that was when I was more exposed to like secular music. So that was like when I had my own phone and stuff like that. So I was able to like download Spotify and then listen to all the songs that I wanted to listen to. Um, and that's when I started listening to secular music. I had my phases. So up from 2015, I think, to 2023, I've had my phases of music. um so so during secondary school, 2016, 2015, like 2016, if you know, like the music, I feel like the music, I feel like after 2016, music kind of went downhill. I don't know. I feel like 2016 was the last, like, in secular music, like that was the last era where music actually hit differently. Do you know what I mean? I feel like they just stopped making music properly after that. No offense to any music artists out there, but that's just how I feel. Um but yeah, 2016, that was like me. I would just, because that, that was my introduction to secular music. I was just listening to pop. So whatever was on the charts from, top 10, top 50, top 20 or whatever. So like I remember there was a song that I used to rinse by Major Lazer. I need somebody to lean on. Do 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 do. If you know, you know. I love that song for some reason. It was a song by Jessica as well. Don't be so hard on yourself, no. Da, 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 let go. That was actually such a good song. But yeah, like pop songs, like Shawn Mendes, Stitches, like like I was a Directioner at some point as well. It lasted very short because literally 2 months after I decided to be a Directioner, that One Direction split up. So that lasted literally like 3 months. But yeah, I had my phases basically. Um, so my phase during that time was pop, and then going into college, I had like an indie alternative phase and a rock phase, and that stemmed from me watching Teen Wolf. So if you watch Teen Wolf, you know the vibes. I can't believe I watched Teen Wolf, but I loved that show. I kind of still do, not gonna lie. But Teen Wolf, I started listening to alternative indie music from there, and then after that, uh, what else? I had my R&B phase, and then I had like my jazz phase, like listening to instrumental jazz. And I had like I had a Shawn Mendes phase and I had an Ariana Grande phase. I don't know why them two particular artists, but there was a time when I was just listening to Shawn Mendes and there was a time when I was just listening to Ariana Grande, and I loved them so much. Um I remember when my friend told me that she thought Shawn Mendes couldn't sing, I was so offended. I was like, what do you mean he can't sing? I was so annoyed. But anyway, Jemima, you know yourself. Yeah, but I loved them for whatever reason. And I had a neo soul kind of vibe, and then I had an old school R&B phase. And if you know old school R&B, like I, that was an era. I don't know, like I just feel like we'll never be able to. I don't know. There's some people that still do songs that are good, like Mooney Long. She makes some songs that kind of like make me reminisce about them kind of times. But there's just something about the old school R&B that I just don't think we're ever gonna get again. It was it makes me so sad because it was so good. Like Usher, Tamia, um, SWV, Destiny's Child, who else? Like, um, Mario, Omarion, just all these people. Like I said, if you know, you know. Old school R&B. I don't think there's anything that hits like old school R&B personally. Um, but yeah, I had that phase, and then I had a K-pop phase, which is very interesting. um, yeah, shout out to Esther who introduced me to K-pop, but I had that phase. I still have the albums, like they're literally. I'm looking at them now in the corner. I bought a light stick, like BTS, like J Hope was my bias. Like literally had biases. Yeah, BTS, NCT, 17, um, TXT, all these people, bruv. Literally, I had a very serious K-pop phase. Like my whole wall, I had literally, okay, so there was a time where, so it was when I moved into uni, because I got into K-pop during COVID because I was bored, and like I kind of just discovered K-pop. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, and I got like so deep into it. So I kind of carried that into uni. I kind of faded after first year because I was way too busy to keep up with that. But so let's say like you can't see it now, but like literally my wall was covered in BTS, um, NCT, and Enhypen. So literally my wall was covered with posters and pictures of these different people, right? And I remember my parents would do this thing like, "Oh, we're driving by Manchester. Do you want some food? We'll bring some food." I'll be like, "Okay." And then it was one day my mom came. She was like, "Oh, let me come upstairs." The food. The way I ran to my flat and tore down all the pictures. I was like, you don't understand. I was panicking because I knew if my mom walked in and saw all these people, she'd like start a deliverance session for me. So I literally was like, okay, and ran up the stairs. And I was like, up, I was on the top floor. So I ran like three, four flights of stairs, rushed into my room, tore down everything, everything, everything. And my mom was calling, like, let me in. I was like, I'm coming. And I was tearing down everything, packed it, and then stuffed it somewhere. But I had forgotten a picture. So there was one picture of BTS on the wall. And then my mom came in and she was looking around. And then when she came in, I saw the picture, but it was too late to take it down. So I was just like hoping that, Lord, please don't let her notice. Please don't let her notice. And thankfully, she ignored it. She noticed it, but she didn't think anything of it. So she was just like, oh, this girl that, watches K dramas or whatever. So she didn't really think anything of it. So I was kind of like saved through that. But that was such like an incident to me. Like I was panicking. I was like, oh my God, if she discovers this, I'm dead. But anyway, that's how deep into K-pop I was. But literally, I had a K-pop phase. And then I had an Afrobeats phase, and this is the longest phase of them all. Um, Rinsed Afrobeats for like 2 years, like rinsed it. Like when I say I wasn't listening to anything else, I was, but I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like my okay, if we get my Afrobeats playlist, um, it's 14 hours long, and literally like I would just rinse that 14 hours of Afrobeats on repeat for like ages, basically. But yeah, like that was my longest longest music phase, like genre phase. Um I'm just scrolling through it now and looking at like songs that I used to listen to. Um oh my days. What's it called? One Damo by Rema. Well, it's not just Rema, other artists are in it, but that I loved that song. So by Omale. Just just all these, I'm just looking at it now. Like Organized by Ashake. Literally, this is so hilarious. Bandana by Fireboy and Ashake. Bloody Samaritan by Iris Star. When that dropped, oh my god. I used to love Burner Boy as well. Finesse by Feels. Just like all them songs, like those that was I had that phase, basically. Yeah, I had a very long Afrobeats phase. And then up until last year, 2023, which was when I stopped listening to secular music. But yeah, like that was my period of those good, how many is that? 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. A good 9 years of listening to, having different phases, um, but listening to, secondary music, and then it stopped last year. And we'll get into why it stopped. Um, but yeah, it was it was a very interesting time. Um, And yeah, I just basically have a very deep love for music, basically. A very, very deep and very deep, strong um relationship with music. Um yeah, and like I said, I'll get into why I sort of, not sort of, I stopped listening to secular music. But yeah. So you can see how passionate I was. Okay, moving on to the next topic. Um this is like from 0 to 100 now. Was Lucifer the angel of music? And I asked this question because um some people don't know this. Um and they don't know um how much there is otherworldly influence on music. And I think obviously it's harder to understand this if you're not coming from a Christian perspective. Um, but this was one of the reasons why I stopped listening to secular music, um, because of the influence that I saw on the music that was being put out there. Um, but yeah, was Lucifer the angel of music? The answer is there is no definitive answer. Well, that I am aware of, but I am aware through the Bible that Lucifer, he might not have been the angel of music, but he was an angel of music. And if you look in Ezekiel 24:13, because we bring in the word, um, is it 24:13 or 28:13? 28:13. Sorry, that was a mistake. 28:13. It says, "You were in Eden, the Garden of Eden. Every precious stone was your covering: the sardius, topaz and diamond, beryl, onyx and jasper, sapphire, turquoise and emerald gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you were created." And this verse is actually talking about Satan. And it talks here about, how, you know, when he was created with the timbrels and the pipes. So basically instruments. Um, and then in Isaiah 14:11, I think this is like, you can argue if this was about Babylon or if this was about the devil, but I think in the Bible, Babylon is and the devil are kind of like one and two. But basically, it says, "Your pomp is brought down to Sheol, and the sound of your stringed instruments." So it's basically saying that he had instruments. He was an instrumental angel. Basically, he was basically Satan was leading praise and worship in heaven. Basically, is what I'm getting. This is what I like to think. My guy was leading praise and worship in the heavens. Like, he had all the instruments, all the voices. He was the choir. The choir was him. He was the choir. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Satan was, an angel with an ability to create incredible melodious sounds. Um, but he fell, you know, and he became the devil, became Satan. And, you know, if I were him, I know that my gifting from God is music, and I'm trying to attack the man them and the girl them and the world. Obviously, my first strategy is gonna be sound, because that's what I know, right? Think about it. That's why when you look at music, especially nowadays, and people they're getting bold now. There is no shame in celebrating and displaying satanic imagery, Satan, demons, darkness, all that kind of stuff. Like, if you remember, I'm sure everyone knows when Lil Nas X released Montero, the video. I remember watching that video with my flatmate, and we were like, And my fat mate isn't even Christian, but she was like, what? Like, that video was a shock to the system. And just like things like Paint the Town Red, like Doja Cat, um, just some video. I don't really watch secular music. I never really watched the video, so I can't say like this and this and this was crazy. But those are two videos that I know was wild. And if you look back, I remember there was a scene in Who Runs the World Girls, Beyonce, that was like there was a woman on the cross, and I was like, that's interesting. Why is a woman on the cross? Um, and just like things that are very anti God and anti Christian and anti, anti God. Yeah, yeah. And they're not afraid to like kind of show that in their imagery and whatever, or even in their words. Like some of the words are very sus. So yeah, like I was saying, if I was the devil, obviously the first thing I'm gonna do is get into the music industry, get into the thing that people are gonna listen to, because I know the power of sound. And like we read earlier about how sound has how our brainwaves synchronize with the rhythm of music. I just think that is so profound. Like your body is in tune with what you're listening to. Your brain is becoming in tune and synchronizing with what you're listening to. And if you're listening to something that is, um, you know, anti God, your brain is basically synchronizing with something that is, anti God. You're synchronizing with something that's demonic and something that is satanic. And some people don't see it that way. They see it as, oh no, it's fun to listen to. And I hear it. I hear it. Like I understand. Music is very pleasurable to listen to. Like we have said, it carries that dopamine. It causes a dopamine effect in our brains where we listen to it and we feel pleasure. I get it. Um, but are you really gonna put pleasure over your soul? Like, is your pleasure more important than your soul? Think about it. Think about it for a second now. Think about it. Because um a lot of the times we put our fleshly feelings over what's more important, and our soul and our salvation and our eternal life is way more important than just enjoying a couple of minutes of a nice sound. And also, I will say, like, it is supposed to sound nice. Like, the devil's not gonna give you rubbish music to listen to. He's gonna make sure the beat is sick. Like, he's gonna make sure the melodies are fire. He's not gonna. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not gonna. The enemy's never gonna offer you something that is not appetizing, something that is not attractive, something that is not, oh, that looks good, oh, that sounds good. He's obviously gonna offer you, and again, like I said, the man was an angel of music. He knows a sick beat when he hears one. He knows a fire melody when he hears one, and obviously he's gonna like influence the industry to produce such amazing, amazing sounds, but that are detrimental to our soul. And a lot of the time, another excuse people give is that, oh well, the lyrics aren't bad. I don't listen to music um that have bad lyrics in that, and that's good. I also don't believe every secular song is from Satan. You know, secular just means that the song doesn't have God in it, basically. Not every secular song is bad, but I will say that it's not just about the lyrics, because some lyrics are even nice, um, but if the person who created that sound is not of God, is not a Christian, or yeah, is, let's say he's not a Christian, they're getting their inspiration from something, right? And if you're not getting your inspiration from God, where are you getting your inspiration from? And you can't say yourself, because your spirit, and your spirit is influenced by external forces. And the external forces are God and Satan. There is no in between. Please, I beg you. Don't believe that there's an in between where you can just write lyrics that aren't bad. In fact, you could be writing lyrics about loving the world and sharing love to other people. But if it is not influenced by God, it's influenced by something else. And that's why secular music is so dangerous, because it's not just about the lyrics. Yes, again, like the lyrics can be like the I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day, and we were talking about how she said that she had a discussion with her sister, and she was like, doesn't it give you the ick always listening to songs about sex? Like, why do all the songs have to be about sex? And nowadays, like, you'll see like a lot of music that they release, it's always about sex, it's always about relationships, it's always about, I don't know, drugs, or taking drugs, or trapping, or selling drugs, or beating somebody up, or violence, gang banging, just mad stuff basically. And there's no wholesome music anymore. Or even if, let me not say there's no wholesome music anymore, wholesome music isn't mainstream. It's not what sells. What sells is songs about sex and songs about drugs and songs about whatever. So yeah, those things, like, it's just, that's actually one of the reasons why I didn't listen to a lot of rap, because I just noticed like they're just doing a lot. I'm just not here for it. So I just didn't. I had a hip hop phase, but it was very short. It was very, very short, because I just couldn't get on the vibe. Like, I couldn't vibe to it. Um, but yeah, the lyrics can be mad, can be insane. But again, like I was saying, even when the lyrics are nice and supposedly good, if the inspiration is not God, then the inspiration is not good. And therefore it can affect you in a negative way. And I remember I've heard two stories now about this, where someone was listening to a song and they unalived themselves. And it, this was two different situations, where another person was listening to a song and they unalived themselves. Um, and it's not every song will have, in fact, it's rare to find songs that talk about ending it. Like, songs don't usually get that deep. But if the person that was writing the song had suicidal ideation in their mind, that will convey into the sound of the song, even if it's not the lyrics. So that's why we have to be so careful, because we are listening to songs where people have depression. We are listening to songs where people are full of lust. We are listening to songs where people have addictions to drugs and alcohol. And we're taking those vibes into our soul, into our mind. Our brain waves are literally synchronizing with the rhythm. And you're now wondering, oh, but why am I doing this, that, and the other? Listen, those things will affect you whether you like it or not. And I will give an example. For me, um, I struggled with like lust and sexual immorality and things like that. And I knew that a problem was the music I was listening to, and I just didn't know how to stop. I couldn't stop listening to secular music. Like, I'm telling you now, like, out of everything that I could give up, music was this. I was like, Lord, please, like, just let me be able to listen to secular music. Like, I'll do anything else, but like, just let me be able to listen to secular music. I couldn't let it go. And but when I came to the realization that it was truly, truly affecting me, and it was not letting me progress past a certain stage in my spiritual life. I was like, Lord, just take it away. Like, Lord, just take the desire for secular music away from me, because it's clearly not helping my life. Um, and He did. I woke up one morning, and the desire to listen to secular music was out the window. And literally since then, I have not listened to secular music. Like, no, what? Maybe I've listened to one or two songs, and this is not no word of a lie. Like, I don't sit down to listen to secular music anymore. Um, but I've also seen the difference between then and now. I do not struggle with sexual immorality anymore, and I'm not saying this is the case for everyone. I think also it had to do with consecration. I think because I'm called into music ministry, God was like, you can't be called into music ministry and be listening to secular music. Like, that needs to end. So I think that also had a very big part to play. Um, I don't think everyone's going to be called to stop listening to secular music, but I do think that secular music has an effect on your life, and sometimes if you, I think getting rid of it has its effects. Like I said, like I noticed the struggle lessened over the months after I stopped listening to secular music. So yeah, the influence of the sound is so important, and that's why I feel like Christians, especially our generation, should minimize their listening to secular music. Um, and I don't know, it so I went to a Stormzy concert last year, and this is why I'm gonna say that not all secular music is bad. So I went to a Storm. Oh, it wasn't last year. Was it 2 years ago now? Maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Two. I don't remember. But I went to a Stormzy concert while I was in university, and obviously we know Stormzy. Like, Stormzy a household name. Like, we all love Stormzy. Big up Storms. Like, that's our guy. Like, at some point I was convinced that I was gonna marry him, but that's neither here or there. But basically, I went to his concert, and he has his songs. Like, some of his songs are like, oh, okay, interesting. Um, but he sang "Blinded by Your Grace," and I'm not gonna lie to you, the presence of God came down into the concert. Amongst the other songs that he was singing, he sang that song, and we actually felt the presence of God. And that's why I'm gonna say that his influence is obviously clearly not the devil. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's obviously clearly not Satan. He obviously has an influence from God, and that's why I will say that not all secular music is bad, because some people, even though they're not singing about God, um, they're not singing from a dark place. Um, that is also another debate. I don't know if I should get into it now. But there is the debate of whether Christians should, sing some certain songs. For example, Stormzy is an example where he sings like gospel songs, but he also sings some songs about, banging people in the face. Um, which is a bit, it's interesting. And I think everyone, is at their different points and different walks with God in their lives. So maybe that might be why, they can sing about that and sing about God. But I think as you grow in God, some things will kind of fall off, and some things will kind of shed away, and you might, stop singing or stop rapping about um different things. But obviously that's between Stormzy and God. I don't listen to Stormzy's music anymore. But I thank God and I praise God for Stormzy. I still love him. That song he did, Fire Babe, fire. The song is fire. And even until recently, one of his songs was no, it's still my ringtone. Oh girl, you're shining. Na, 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 na. Da, na, 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 na. That song. Vibes. But yeah. Different artists have different influences, and it comes across through the song. Obviously, if you're not discerning, it might be harder to understand. But if you're a Christian and you kind of like have discernment, you'll be able to discern some things where like, that song is a bit off. I don't like the feeling that I'm getting from that song. An example for me was Beyonce's song, um, before she did Black is King, which was wild. Um, but she did Lemonade. I think that was the name of the album. And I was listening to it. Yeah, I think it came up on, when Spotify does like Discover Weekly and stuff like that. So one of the songs came up on my Discover Weekly, and I was just like, vibing, listening to songs, and the song came on, and I was just like, that feels off. I don't. And this was when I was listening to secular music. This wasn't even like, recently when I came more serious with God. This was when I was still listening to secular music, like vibing my life away. And I heard that song and I was like, this feels weird. And I turned it off. And that has happened to me a couple times where I'll be listening to a song and I'll just be like, no. And I'll turn it off. Um, because some songs just have a very strong influence of something. And it might be demonic, it might be depression, it might be lust, it might be whatever. But some songs are very heavily influenced by things that are not good. And that's why, as a Christian, you should be very discerning of what you listen to, because it's not just secular music, it's also Christian music. And that was what I was gonna come to next, is that the sound is not just listen to Christian music. It's listen to songs that are influenced by God, because a Christian artist, first of all, not everyone that even claims they're Christian is Christian. Some people are in the Christian gospel industry because of money. So that's one. Number two, um, when when someone comes into a studio and starts recording, if they were having a bad day, right? And if I think the easiest thing is like depression. Like we all have like our down days, and if they were having a time of depression, right, and they come into the studio and record during that time, I'm not gonna lie, you're going to feel that spirit of depression through the songs, even if they are Christian, unless they come to God, consecrate the sound to God, and be like, Lord, move through the sound, and don't let it be me, let it be you. But if they're just coming on I'm here to make money, I'm here to write songs, and I'm here to sell records, the spirit that they have in them is going to translate through the song, and you're going to feel it. So that's why it's not just about listening to Christian songs, it's about discernment, I will say. It's about discerning what is right, and what feels right for your spirit. If something feels off, like turn it off. Don't force yourself to listen to something that irks your spirit, because you are spirit, and your spirit reacts to spiritual things, even if you don't feel it, or even if you don't realize. Your spirit reacts to spiritual things. So sometimes you'll hear a sound and you just be like, I'm not a fan. Turn it off. It's okay. It's not every day listen to everyone, And even for me, like recently, I kind of stopped listening to American gospel, and I've just kind of stuck with my Nigerian worship. Yeah, not for any particular reason, but I just noticed that I just kind of stopped listening to it. And like I think a lot of things started coming out about the American um gospel industry, where it was just like, oh, okay, that's interesting, So discernment is very important, because like I said, your soul is more important than anything else. Like a moment's pleasure does not override your eternity, does not override an eternity with God and a salvation with God. So please, 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 um, when it comes to music, like it's not just music. It's a sound, it's vibrations, literally. It's waves that enter your brain and affect you without you knowing sometimes. And like I said, like it's like going to a okay, here's an example. When you go to a club, right, you don't um Okay, when you go to a club, there's a certain kind of music they play. They play hip hop, play R&B, whatever it might be. And you'll notice the words that are in the lyrics, right? Especially if it's like a hip hop night or an R&B night. Because I've been to a pop night, but I don't know what other genres they do. Um, but like when you go to a club and they're playing like hip hop R&B, you'll notice the words that they're singing, yeah? And you're singing along to them. And you look at the environment, you see the vibe that is going on. People are drinking, people are smoking, people are doing drugs, people are, being intimate with each other. If do you think that they would be doing that if they played a gospel song? I'm not obviously they're not gonna play a gospel song in the club. But do you not think that the song and the music that they're playing is affecting the environment? There are some songs that you play, right? Everyone knows. Like people have playlists for like getting in the mood. Do you know what I mean? Like people have playlists for intimate moments. People have playlists for different vibes, and like there's certain music that kind of makes you feel a certain way, and that is what we're talking about. There's some songs that affect your spirit, because the spirit of the person that was writing it is translated into that song, and you're just vibing to it, but you're also getting into that spirit, getting into that mood that person was in. I saw a recent clip of these people were at like an event, like a club party kind of vibe, and someone connected this to the speaker and started playing someone praying in tongues. You can literally see the people sat down and they were uncomfortable and they were just sat. But if it was like something else, they'd be vibing to it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the songs that you hear and the sounds that you hear affect you whether you like it or not. And if you're you know if you're of God, and if you're trying to grow in your spiritual life and trying to grow in your walk with God, um listening to sounds that help build up your spirit are better than listening to sounds that are going to put you in a mood to sin, and are going to put you in a mood to feel some type of way, you know so yeah, like, sound is so so important. It's very very important, and it's something that we should all um be wary of, um and be discerning towards, because it's not just music, you know which some people believe, but obviously coming from the perspective of pastor's kid or a Christian who is trying to grow in their walk with God, please do try and refrain from listening to secular music. Not everyone will be able to go cold turkey like I did. I know for a fact it was God that helped me to do that. I don't know how. I just stopped listening to secular music one day. But if you can, just, we can start with the lyrics. Like, what are the songs that say things that aren't right, and just kind of promote, ideals that are wrong, like promote cheating or promote promiscuity or promote addiction or promote sadness and depression, all those kind of things. Like, notice the songs that promote things that aren't healthy, and just take them off, delete them from the playlist. And as you grow, as grow in discernment, what are the songs that make you feel kind of irk your spirit? Delete them, irk them off, um remove them from the playlist. I know a problem that people have had with listening to Christian music is that some Christian music is corny. I also went through that. I couldn't listen to Christian hip hop because I just thought, what is this? But we thank God that they're improving and things are getting better. I think Christian hip hop nowadays is lit. So many songs go viral on TikTok and people don't even know it's Christian songs, because of how, like, I feel like they've upgraded when it comes to like beat making and producing and stuff like that. So I'm very happy about that. But yeah, like, listen to Christian hip hop, listen to Christian rock, like listen to Christian R&B. Christian R&B is a thing. Like listen to Christian jazz. Like there are alternative options that you can choose to listen to that aren't corny or aren't, um a bit dead, to be honest. But yeah, as you also, I feel like as you grow in God, like your appetite changes anyway. So what you desire to listen to kind of changes. So for me personally, like I still do like my hip hop here and there, but I've noticed recently like it's just worship. Like I just listen to worship, or I listen to my Bible. So that, like, your appetite will change the more you grow in God. But before you get there, just help yourself. Shave off the things that aren't you shouldn't be listening to or aren't helpful to you mentally, spiritually, and all those kind of things. Um, but yeah, that's basically all I have to say. I feel like I waffled a little bit as I usually do. But yeah. Oh, I would also like to add, just like listening to some songs, some secular songs, can affect you and make you feel certain ways. There are worship songs that also can make you feel certain ways. So there are some artists, some gospel artists that I listen to, and even if I'm on the road, I will start speaking in tongues because they carry the Spirit of God. And each, like I said, like some artists in the secular world carry depression or they carry lust, and that can translate to you through the sound. But some, people carry the spirit of prayer. Some people carry the grace of intercession. Some people carry the grace of worship. Some people even carry the grace of righteousness or whatever. If you listen to people that carry those positive graces, that translates to you. And I've noticed, like I said, there are some artists that I'll listen to that I will just pray. Like I'll just want to pray. I'll find myself wanting to pray. I'll find myself wanting to worship God. I'll find myself, wanting to live for God just through music. And that's, like we said, like just as music can be powerful in a negative way, it can be very powerful in a positive way. And the power of God is greater than the power of the enemy. So obviously, if you listen to Christian music, that grace and that spirit of God that is in those sounds, the more you listen to it, the more your appetite changes. First of all, for secular music, and then you'll notice that you are more enabled to grow in your Christian walk and grow in your in your spiritual life, because you are taking in things that affect you but affect you positively. So artists that I would recommend: Dunsi Oyekon. I've said his name 3 times already. Dunsi Oyekon, Lawrence Oyo, them two people. For Dunsi Oyekon, I watch him when I want to worship, and he helps me worship God. That's someone that I listen to when I want to worship. Lawrence Oyo is someone I listen to when I just need to build myself up spiritually. Like I need to ginger myself to live for God. Like that's the guy that I listen to when I want to pray. Theophilus Sunday and Abiojomu. I'm just listing Nigerian names. I'm sorry, I'm Nigerian, so there's the people I know. Abiojomu, Theophilus Sunday. When you want to pray, them are the ones. When you want to, if you want a little bit of jazz sometimes, a little bit of, he doesn't do a lot of jazz, but he has a few songs. Nathaniel Bassey. But he's also he's just an amazing gospel artist that I love. If you want like R&B kind of vibes, Madison Ryan Ward. If you want Afrobeat, Limo Blaze. If you want hip hop, Lecrae, Swoop, and 1K Few. There's people that I can think of off my head. Hove as well. One Day. If you're looking for hip hop and rap, I'm thinking for rock. I think it's Skillet. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. For R&B, I've said Madison Ryan Ward. I think I might put recommendations out on my Instagram page just in case like people want, if you want recommendations, let me know. Message me, put it in the comments below if you're looking for Christian artist recommendations. But yeah, like there are so many like Christian Skillet for rock, for Christian rock. But basically there are so many different artists that you can listen to in different genres now, that you will enjoy, and you will there's even Christian K-pop. So like honestly, there's no excuse. There's music for you. There's a space for you that you will enjoy. It's just up to you to determine that I'm gonna, put aside the things that aren't helping me spiritually and take on the things that will help me grow. But yeah, that's enough of my waffling. But thank you so much again for joining the PK's podcast on It's Not Just Music. It's Just Music. Hold on. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me on the PK's podcast this week again. Thank you for listening to waffle for an hour and a bit. But yeah, remember, it's not just music. I pray that you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And, I just lift up all the people, Lord, that are, watching this right now. And I pray that anyone who is struggling, like I was, listening to secular music, I pray that you'll enable them and embrace them to listen to you more than the pleasures of their flesh. And I pray, oh Lord, that, you will help us to continue to discern what is right, what is wrong, and to walk and grow in your grace and in your presence. In Jesus' name, amen. See you next time on the PK's podcast. Bye.